So it's going to stream it to YouTube and record it. So you'll see how it says it's starting up here. There you go.
So now, what if Al just gets this idea? I want to have Jocelyn pull something up on the screen.
All right, so I'll minimize your YouTube and you'll just have like your matter of fact, let me pull up because he sent me that video that he wants to play.
Oh, do he wants to play Mr. Tucker's video, right? That's
I thought it was Bill Tucker or was it Elsie Butler?
Oh, Elsie Scott?
Elsie Scott.
Oh, Elsie Scott.
I think it was that one.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. So yeah, I thought he wanted to play this one. Yeah. But, all right, I have them on my hard drive. I'll go put them on there right quick.
All right.
Give me 1 second.
Cool. I know my boss. He gonna try to pass asking all these questions. I said, I know my boss. He'll be asking all these questions about do this, do that. And I'm like, what did you know about that?
I already know. All right, so
you staying with us to the meeting or you leaving?
oh, I'm probably have to leave.
You have to leave.
Can you come up? So I want to inject this. Oh well, I just pull up.
Me.
Charles, when are they supposed to start on the alumni center?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think they're doing it.
Hmm?
I don't think they're gonna do it soon.
Cassie said he already had the money.
There you go.
He told me that. 6, 7 months ago. They got it. If they don't use the money by some time, that.
Oh, this must be some state funds.
So
This must be some
yeah.
This state fund. That's what I'm supposed to do that.
Federal funds do that too.
Yeah, federal and state. It's got to be federal and state funds.
So
No, I didn't know them. I had
that's what he told me because he was trying to get me to. They got together. They wanted me to take over old infirmary and turn it into a dinner club for the staff, for employees, and have ways that you can go up, sit on the top, on the deck, and you look over the river. But the airport has exclusive rights, and also there was another factor too. Oh, it had to be donated. Wait, somehow the foundation had to. The university had to donate to the foundation.
And
The foundation then do. I'm like, damn, it's a headache.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah. See, because the university can't do anything.
Right.
Because they're state.
That's
so that's
right.
why everything
right.
they try to do, they
Mhm.
come to us to do it because we can do it without all these restrictions.
And that's what the whole Ernie was about.
But anyway. I need to see the you did the invoice, right? Okay. I'm gonna roll this out.
I remember the story about the woman in Mississippi. She
They got
drinks out.
the coffee out. This is
Okay. Okay.
you know.
All right.
I ain't already drinking. I already know this. That's why I said, ain't no get my You know when the drinking all of this. So we can leave it in.
I remember the story about the woman in Mississippi. She cleaned houses. And nobody ever guessed that the slave was saving her money. And she had no will when she died. She had $100,000 left to one of the Mississippi institutions, but for black students. Because she never got a chance to go to college. She never got a chance to graduate from high school. But she wanted these students to have it. And she was able to do that with a house cleaning salary. She was able to save $100,000.
I'm about to save all of them to this thing, this computer too, because I have them on my external hard drive.
So you're gonna save them to this computer.
Yeah.
And that way I can just go to
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And let me get this one too. Let me get all of it.
Yeah, you know. Will the name pop up with them? I need to know what name.
Yeah, I'm gonna save it with the name,
Okay.
because if you notice on yeah, see, I saved it with the actual name. Yeah, that way it don't just say video. You
Yeah.
gotta guess what it is. Yeah, that's the worst, especially when you have like a meeting and you're trying to get.
Find the right video. Yes.
Hold up, give me a second. We done learned a lot of that from dealing with our boy stuff.
I'm sure.
My name is Leon Baldwin.
That's the one that played downstairs.
Uh-huh.
I'm a native of Louisiana.
It's the right one.
My
He
parents
had called me
had
the other
8
day.
boys,
I said, this the
5
right one.
boys,
Because he called me the other day.
And,
He said that he was going up saying that
all of us-
one of the, I think Leon, one of them called him and was like, I think the video only had Leon and not Warren on it or something. And he's like, I keep telling him that's not the right video. I was like, yeah, just send it to me. I'll change it. Because
When they did that?
this was before the MDM. I had to change it to the right video because the one he had up there, the one they had put up there was the wrong video. It was like, it only had Leon and it only had Warren, one of the two. Who is this? This Leon, right?
This Leon.
Yeah, it only had Leon on it. It had Warren. He said Warren called him. It was like the video only had his brother on there while he wasn't on there. Yeah, I was like, oh.
born and raised
What they had
on
to
Sun-
do on what side?
It was down. It was
It was
downstairs.
downstairs?
On the video wall. Yeah. So I had changed it for him.
I thought they had both of them on there the whole time.
I thought it did too, but
They
like,
did.
I don't know. I guess it didn't.
Maybe he just didn't sit there long enough to watch the whole
Yeah, but then he did say that originally there was a video that only had Leon on it, and he thought they had got rid of that video and replaced it with the correct one, but maybe they didn't or something. Yeah.
You know, everything that has happened good to my family has emanated from Southern. Southern took me a rock out of the back row of Canefields, Louisiana, polished me into a gem so that I could shine throughout the courtrooms of this state and other states. So Southern is the main author to my life and effect.
Okay, that's 2 videos. No, 3 videos. I could change studio.
So I'm glad we got the one good.
Yeah, I had to go through this little site because it wouldn't let you download all of them from Vimeo
Really?
yesterday. I was like, it let me download one.
Stewart. I'm a
The rest of them, they didn't let me do it.
graduate of Southern University, Baton Rouge.
When I need to get videos off YouTube for like Marcus and them.
I'm from Maryland, Louisiana.
We're 28 miles from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, south.
My name is Bill Tucker, and I grew up in a community that was so far into the sticks, we had to pipe sunlight back into the area. I'm a country boy that grew up in rural West Virginia Parish. I grew up in an area where there wasn't a lot to do with the farm area, timber area. Aside from that, I was the only child. And
Yeah, I learned a lot about them because I didn't know half of them.
I know, listen to the videos.
Mm-hmm.
I am Irving Matthews, and I'm a graduate of Southern University, class of 1970. I feel that Southern University has prepared me to achieve the things that I have, so therefore I have an obligation to give back. I'm originally from Lake Charles, Louisiana. I would like to say we were lower middle class.
All right, there you go. Y'all going to Lake Charles? Okay, when is that?
In October, the 23rd through the 25th.
Okay. All right, so I want to say he wants this one queued up. So guess we'll use that.
I remember the story about the woman.
Alright, so I'll just full screen it and then minimize it. So now all you do is hit this right here
Hit that.
and boom, it pop up.
All right, cool. Nice.
And you just go to the corner right here and hit minimize. So I could close this out. And it's already streaming to YouTube. So now you could test the calling number because it's already on YouTube.
Wait, what call?
Cause you said y'all had a call.
Yeah, I have a call.
Yeah. So the way you do that is like you go
Hit the audio conference.
audio conference,
Right.
and then you just
And dial my number.
yeah.
Okay, well, we good. I got
That's
that
it.
part. All
So
right.
once it's over with, I mean,
So
all you
now, so it's on now.
it's online now.
So
So whenever because one person is already watching it.
oh,
So
Lord.
once you let's see, once the meeting is over with, then you would just go to this little thing right here, which is OBS, and see right here where it has stop streaming and stop recording.
Okay.
You just would hit both of those, and that's it.
Okay. So both of those. Stop streaming and stop recording.
Yeah,
All right, and then I can exit.
and you can exit. So that's it, and all that'll just run in the background, and you'll just have this screen right here. So that way, when he want the video, because I mean, the only thing you really have to access is the video. So you just hit the video right here.
Video.
But if he wants like other videos, you would hit File Explorer, and they'll be right here. So this is where your other videos are, and this is where that video is.
Mm-hmm. And if he wanted me to pull up something,
Like from the internet.
well, say our packet.
Uh huh.
Can you pull our packet up right now? Pull that up and get that up there too.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Banks, you downstairs? I'm coming. You at the front of the bar.
What? Good morning. All right, how are you?
So,
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. How about doing a quick picture for me? You mind? How about doing a quick picture for me?
Oh, sure.
This fancy new building.
Yes, sir. One, two, three.
Okay, thank you much.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
got it, Mr. Banks, on the computer?
I see it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the pass code. And all you have to do is, oh, I did all of that. Is the internet on there? It's on there. Let's see, you should only have to hit one little button and it should give you that and it should give you the packet. Let's see if it did.
You got used to this building yet?
Kind of, sort of. Kind of, sort of.
All right, so Jocelyn, I put up the board packet as well.
Okay.
So you just hit Adobe and it'll be right there.
Okay.
So you have the video that Al requested,
Okay.
and you have the board packet.
Okay. Now, where is the video thing that I need?
Oh, this the folder right here is where all the videos are.
Okay, but the video conference. If
to stop it.
Okay, we stopped it. So what's the little thing I hit to bring out?
If you want to stop it, you'll hit this right here.
It's still on right now.
Yeah, it's live right now.
And do we necessarily need to see it? We don't need to see
I don't think you need to see it. No.
It's just that they'll be able to see us.
Yes, correct.
So they can see us. Everything is on. Everything is ready. They can hear us. They can see us.
Yes.
So all that's good. So all I need is my packet, which is right there with Adobe,
and the
the video that I want.
And in case he wants other videos, you would hit the folder.
I would hit
right here.
The little yellow folder.
And that has the videos and a packet is in there.
All right, cool. All right,
I'm about to go load up
I'm good.
Because he wants the VCP logo on the classroom.
Productions.
I'm about to go do that right now.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
You are the best. You are the best.
It's amazing how young people understand.
Tell me, Mr. Banks, I just be like, lost Jesus. I be lost, Mr. Banks. I mean, like, really? What? Can you please put all that together for me? There we go. There's your pen. And I'm going to give you this so that as you scroll, you don't have to go back to see where we are. Okay. You can kind of keep your little pen and check over.
Okay, you know, as you go.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you know, I called one in my office the other day.
Lord, what's going on already this morning, Jesus? Oh, Father. Touch no harm of David, come not nobody's dwelling God. Can take life.
It's got to be a common thing in our little town now, I'll tell you. When I was trying to forward a text to someone, and I couldn't get it to go.
You couldn't get it to go.
I can't. So look, can y'all forward this? They ain't got to do it.
Can y'all get this going for me, please?
They ain't know how to get it done.
Okay, I'm hitting the wrong button, that's why.
Item 3 gonna take up our time. Quantico.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I told Al, I watched that guy at the last meeting.
Yeah,
he didn't look right. I'm talking about the guy from DC.
Yeah, he was. Him was like,
I bet the people in the other buildings would love to be over here.
Oh yeah, they are envious of us, and but in that big old nice building, I said, yeah, but guess what? The work is still the same. My work isn't going anywhere.
Amen.
Yeah, work. I said, actually, it's more work. So would y'all like to come in and help do some of the work? I'd be happy to share it with you. I have no, oh Lord, they went to the wrong place. They didn't church around now. Yep, they went to the wrong place. You mean some of y'all, these people don't know this campus yet by now? Gee.
Wrong place, huh? Here's another one coming.
Jesus Christ. Jesus, what is the matter? Is something on fire? They make the fire truck. Yeah, that's the fire truck.
Must be fire.
Turn that way, they went that way. I don't see no
I
smoke
think I'm
per
gonna
se.
stay.
I don't see no smoke per se.
So like you, we already know this campus.
What's really going on? Good morning.
Morning, Fred.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Hey, coffee. Coffee, not in here.
No, I just still back there.
What's going on?
Not too much, brother.
Okay, good.
Hey, man. Doing all right, brother? Hanging in there? Good, good.
Okay.
Everything's going fine. There's nothing to kill us back there. You can still see out there with these. Yeah. So, you know, so there's no glare on the screen.
Touching me.
No, you don't touch it. Oh, what do you got over here? All right. Got me set up over here. Use paper. Here you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah, Robert, how you doing?
One. Good. You know, okay.
What's going on, Robert?
Not much.
Good.
Need help? Anything?
Oh, no, I think we're good right now. Hey, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Do me a favor. Move those chairs that are right there over there. Yeah, I thought I wanted them there, but it was a little bit more out of the way. Where the packet at, Fred? You still showed it to you? Oh, I see it.
Mercy.
Fred. You want to try to get back?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, I realize you would.
Yeah, you probably got anything.
Okay. There it is. Yeah.
I gotta turn the Wi-Fi on.
We're going to Lake Charles for the retreat.
Uh-huh. Don't look too well. What's going on, John? How you doing with Brent?
What are you doing?
Hey, Rob, good morning. Thank you.
Morning, boy.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Chairman, how you doing this
Hey
morning?
man, how you doing?
All right.
Good. How you doing well?
Doing okay?
Yes, sir. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Let's see here.
Hey,
Oh, here I am right here. Oh, we got, I brought my iPad, but we got an iPad at the spot there.
guy called me.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
What? Oh yeah, there's one up there. Yeah, right there.
We changed that.
Okay,
The
good.
20, that's
Okay.
the 20, and it's just to answer the question. That's all. But the other deal is a night office.
Yes, sir. We gonna have it.
Yeah.
What the vision of, I know this is gonna be, what revenues, did you select a specific,
There you go. What's going on?
are you doing there?
Good.
There are like 2 or 3 different ones. Which ones are they using to fund this? Because that has an impact.
I don't know, but that's a question I'll ask.
Yeah.
Because they all I know is the funding came through, didn't go through John Kennedy's office, just that the announcement was made through John Kennedy.
Yeah.
But the state is actually, state COSAP office
Yeah.
is the one that's helping us administer.
Tell you what, this building came out really nice.
It's really nice, and yeah.
Everybody that
Not to be envious of the other people, not to be envious of them.
everybody come and see this thing is just very impressive.
Thing is, it's not a criticism, but you know, that roof is.
We could take more advantage of it, but Al said something about something about the permit or something. Yeah, you have to put another,
Yeah.
for get out, get down. Something happened. But I think it's- Oh, boy. Well, they raising hell about that new facility down there at LSU. People, I thought they'd be happy about it, but they are.
But you know, it was all based on what I'm reading. I think it's all private contributions.
It is. Every single penny of it. If I were Orgeron, I would say, yes, I'm very excited about this new facility. But I am also, I am equally, with the same level of intensity, I decry the condition of our library and our academic facility. And I want to lend my name, leverage my relationship to raise money to get it fixed. And my wife and I will be the first to step up and make a substantial contribution toward getting it done. What I would say.
Hey, how are
Just
you?
to let y'all know, y'all are on YouTube right now, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, you are
Glad
being,
to see you. I thought you were out of
you
town.
are being streamed
How are
by
you?
YouTube right now, so just be aware
Good to
of
see
that.
you.
Oh, yeah.
But all good.
Good to see you. Good.
I'm glad you told me that before I started talking about Preston. I'm glad you
I know, to let you know.
let us know that we are
You're
being
streamed by
live.
YouTube.
We're live.
So they'll be able to watch them.
Dream. Oh, so
Right.
be careful what you say.
The mic is hot.
You know,
Don't say nothing you don't want nobody else to know, okay?
you see yourself.
That's some kind of facility, though.
It is. It is. We were talking about the criticism. I was kind of shocked by it that LSU was getting for their new glamour house down there.
Yeah.
I was telling him when I was wrong. I would say, look, you know, yes, I'm very excited about this facility because, you know, it's going to put us in a position to be competitive. If you go look at some of these other places, man, Texas A&M,
You've been to Alabama?
yeah, man, it's like, you know, it's like the Taj Mahal, and it's attractive to this generation because they are tech savvy. They are all of
How
it.
you doing, my friend? Good.
I would also say, good morning. I would also say that with the same level of intensity, I decry the condition of our library.
That's right.
And I want to lend my name and leverage whatever relationships I can to raise the money. In fact, my wife and I are going to make a substantial contribution for he got the money to do it.
Joe, how you doing, sir?
Joe, you still want to try to visit today at noon? I have
If you're
I have
available.
and I have an email coming to you also that I'm going to do when I get to my.
Good.
Good, hey, man. You know, Al made me come. I was gonna call in, but he directed me to.
I remember give him a good reason to come.
Somebody might have funny
Buckus Chronicles.
Joe Stewart. You say you gonna start at 9? JB.
All right.
They
They do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good.
Ready to go back.
What's going on, bro? It is. Georgetown and all of that. How's that going?
Good. It's been a busy year. I would say summer this year. I've got a big trial coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm busy doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Getting ready.
Yeah.
In case
Got a
it's
test tomorrow
about
morning.
7 years.
When I get out of
It's
here,
all
I'm
comes to a head.
Lock up. It's a quiz. Yeah, got out of there too. Yeah. Finance one. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Congratulations. Get it
So,
done, brother.
it's always better than the alternative saying I have that to do. So, it should be far worse.
I'm doing wonderful. Since Lamar.
What about you?
She got good. Yeah, they did wonderful. Okay. Yeah, she didn't have to.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, golfing, fishing.
You gotta go
Yeah.
get
Where were you? Hers was in Indianapolis. You know, my godmother's family reunion was in Las Vegas last week. So I hope you went there. May have been, I don't think you was the same group. She took the train. There was about 15 of them. Took the train. They said they had a fantastic time. Took about 2.5 days to get there. And I've been telling you, let's find us just me and her, not let's find us.
He took the train from DC to New York a couple of years ago.
Did you? Okay.
That's right.
So I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I don't
That really is great.
one thing to about that is
Al Burrell, I've got the pretty good stuff here.
You good to go?
I was telling Martin this, he was saying, picked up some ideas from my firm. with tech. And I was thinking. Oh, yeah. You say you were playing with the first thing.
You was playing with the camera.
Step away from the cameras and shades. And yeah, play with all the toys.
I was like, what is he doing?
Toys.
You got to do work too.
My dad and I.
See what Clark is. Is he coming?
Yeah, this was a throw.
Where'd you get the design on the table?
The architects did it.
Okay.
Yeah, they came up with it. They had another table. Hey man, are you in the building? Oh, okay, all right. Just wanted to know.
Hey, Tony.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
But these are not blood relatives of mine. They like, cause this is my godmother's family. Of course, I grew up with them because she was a Christian.
Hey Tony, can you grab Jocelyn?
Oh, yeah. Have you been? Heard you had a good, successful golf tournament.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I tell you, boy, this is, you've taken us to a whole nother level. Got a fantastic, I had to meet in a little, anteroom over there. Been here, been chairman 6 months. Look at you, look all the way, look at
2 weeks ago, President.
Okay.
Al, what did you tell me
36 legends that we want.
the restriction was on the expanding that balcony? You had to put another stairwell?
I gotta put a stairwell.
Okay, that's what I
Okay.
got.
This is a stairwell that has to go. And the architect didn't think a stairwell on the front side of the building would
Man,
look. But we eventually, he's gonna do
that I
it.
used to populate it.
And he said, let's get past code and fire inspection. He said, once you move in the building, you can do what you want.
Let's do it. How's your family? Everybody's okay?
Yeah, we doing good.
So we're thinking
State
about
Fire
expanding
Marshal.
that way out.
Yeah.
The state fire marshal, yeah,
Okay.
you gotta have, because the occupants,
Legend is defined as
the number of folks that can be on there, so they need a way out.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I thought about coming walking in. I had not been that close to the Innovation Center before.
Yeah.
And I walked by and I thought about it. I said,
But
Al sold me a
Everybody bowed down at your feet.
He took the picture
That's great.
and then took the thing up.
Oh,
I looked through the line. I said, hey, I went to Putnam Green.
It's over there.
I'm just kidding, man. It don't matter. Don't put it, if you can't find it, don't look for it.
It's over there. I got his money too. James Brown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a whole bunch of golfers. Yeah, Irvin, Mac off the show.
What's the
We
passcode?
get ready. You ready to get the?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Everybody's
6.
queued up. Y'all
No,
y'all
the- is the-
streaming. You're streaming right now.
Okay,
I told
alright.
them that, so to be careful what they say.
All right. So the phone is on.
No, follow
Yeah,
me.
yeah. The phone is good. Oh, the password. Just go to guest.
How long has it been since we've had a golf program?
Go to guest.
oh, wow.
That's your guest. Yeah.
So no, okay. So I'm. Where do you get on? How do you access
You
the
got
material?
to get on, right?
Okay. Go to.
I'm in.
Oh, you're in. Go to the internet. Safari.
Stop running it forward.
And has it? Is it the website?
Oh, yeah.
It should be there.
I got it on my own here, but
But go ahead and hit the.
Yeah.
There. It's it. Yeah. Continue with guest.
That's where I get it.
Then go back to the internet here.
Yeah.
But, and then,
Is it saying you're on? No, you're not on.
Your choice. Keep pressing this as far as I get. Well, maybe I needed to hold it down.
Stop all of that.
Press hard.
I've given them multiple calls already. It's my wife is, hey, this not Kelvin Church.
I've been told that. Stop.
All right. Jocelyn, you're calling in, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we can get started here pretty soon. Who else said they were attending in person who's not here? Oh, we saw 9 a.m. Did the agenda say 9 a.m. or 8:30?
8:30.
8:30.
What's the code? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, because I turned down. The packet said 8:30. I noticed it says 9 here. So I feel a little.
Get it, Joe?
Yeah. I haven't gotten in yet, but
You want to go down there to Safari, log in as guest.
This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please enter your PIN followed by the... Thank you. There is 1 host and 2 participants in this conference. Please announce yourself.
Good morning. Who do we have on the line?
Good morning.
Who do we have?
This is Calvin Connie. Good morning.
Good morning, Kelvin. Great. Can you hear me well, Kelvin?
Excuse me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
A little bit closer. A little bit closer to the mic. Though.
Okay.
I want to back up a little bit.
All right, got you. Good.
Be perfectly now.
All right, very good.
roll down.
Good morning, everyone. LaQuita's on.
Who's that?
That's Laquita.
Laquita. Okay.
Go to About Us, and then to Board, and then the board, secure board portal. It should automatically.
Is the password 2020?
2020, yes.
I think you're on this side of the room, Mr. McLean. I think you'll see your name. All right. Doing all right this morning? Good.
Morning. Smack, how you doing?
Mac, how you doing?
Morning.
They tell you from that James. I said, James, talking about this other day. He's on the road every weekend. We'll start next month.
So, back on the vacation. They can start
working in Brooklyn.
There may be a miscommunication in time.
I saw 9
Packet
o'clock
said
somewhere
8:30
too.
and then some communication said 9. Trying to text the president.
A weekend because I was on the
Yeah, we kind of need him here.
see you guys now. So just kind of look at it.
I've heard of this.
I for it. Well, I should know that.
It's out to
Flying to Dallas. I for you from get out that 4 from Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
So we flying to Dallas?
Yeah.
Not too far.
So she wants to go to New York.
Right.
Yeah, we joined some opportunities on projects.
Yeah, the first 4 Saints games at night. Huh?
First one at night.
At night.
At night. Oh, really?
Even though I think one of them, one or two, may be away.
So I'm working on trying to create a health district. We got about 50 million in construction.
They got them built up this year, and hopefully.
They deserve to be built up. Now you gotta be able to live up to it. Everybody's gonna be gunning for it.
I'll tell you one of the things that
Yeah, he can come in
got
after
woofed.
the meeting.
They got woofed out on that call that should have been the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And if not, then we got what the truck costs.
Yeah, he can come right after the meeting. You don't have to wait that long. If he's on campus.
Yeah, he's here.
We should be done by then.
Okay.
Wait.
Let me know when you're ready.
Oh, yeah.
Jack? Yes, sir. I'll make as many of them as I can.
We don't have a quorum. We don't have 7.
Hey, you get Calvin online.
No, I counted him. But we can.
Schedule. Yeah.
You want me to?
Yeah. We're gonna do the invocation.
Yeah, I'll do the invocation.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and let Al do the invocation for us, and then we'll just go ahead and eat, and then hopefully we'll have enough members in for quorum with the meeting. So.
All right. Might we all assume the attitude of prayer? Eternal, all-wise Father, dear God, we thank you for today. We thank you for all the days that you have provided us here on earth. We ask that you continue to watch over us, watch over our students, our faculty, and our staff. And dear God, keep us ever mindful of the task you've called us to here at Southern University and through the work of the foundation. Now, dear God, we ask that you add a special blessing upon this meeting. Might the business we discuss here serve to glorify your kingdom both on earth and in heaven. We lift up the gifts of food we're about to receive. Might they serve to the nourishment of our minds, bodies, hearts, and spirits. We lift up this prayer in the mighty name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Let's go ahead and get breakfast.
So, go right ahead.
Hey,
We have breakfast there. Right over here. Yeah. So, like, yeah. I'm going to eat something. Y'all might eat. Jocelyn, is there a way that we can make this?
That's what I was trying to do, but Chloe downloaded it somewhere up there, so
No, you can get it out. Where is it?
it's on the keyboard. This keyboard. So,
Yeah, you go up here.
I clicked the button up there and I thought it would take it off too good.
He's downstairs. Text him. He's in the in the conference room downstairs. There's Linda. Yeah. Hey Linda, how you doing? Good morning. Yeah, just give me. No, we just eat.
They didn't even know how you doing.
It's Friday.
I'm good.
Friday morning.
Did they have a, he asked me to give you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, I got
Your
to
name
find
around
my
here somewhere.
name.
What's happening, Mac?
What's going on?
Good. You got that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I knew we had it. I was like,
Here it is. Thank you.
we just been in it.
How you doing?
How y'all
I don't
doing?
think so.
I know you did hate to see me. I know you do.
I love seeing you. What are you talking about? Oh, no.
If it was anything, it was.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't look like a
Now, no, in the other account that we had, that the other piece came through, we had Friday night.
Wanting to know if you
I got
were paid.
it.
Doesn't the number. 'Cause I told her I
was
was
the,
going to him, but if anybody.
It's somebody from the university.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when we had the $25,000
She
fee?
gave me his name.
Yeah, but that was separate. That wasn't this planet.
Yeah, for the Platt Street, originally it was $750,000. Then we ended up paying $1.2 million. And that's what he was. So I told Ms. Douglas, I said, well, I'm gonna see what Presley says, because I'm not talking to her.
Convenient, 2 hours.
Yeah.
I would really call him, but that's out the question.
Yeah.
I just those places are absolutely nuts.
How old are y'all doing over here this morning? Good to see you, man.
Sunday.
Wait.
2 hours. They have 2 at least. Hey, good morning.
You ready?
What am I ready for?
You know you're ready. Act like you don't know.
Let her,
But I got things for you to do.
let her get the other. This is my side. This is the other side.
I got stuff for you. I'm so glad to see you. Yeah, how you been? Well, good. Good to see you. Hey,
Y'all about to kill me.
She was coming, but she just texted me. Chloe, I couldn't get off
If you don't, you should be out of here.
How you been doing? You doing okay?
I know.
North Carolina,
Hear that?
It goes in spurts.
You know what that's like? That's the way it's been for me this summer. We went to Atlanta, and Boston last week. Memphis next week.
It's hard to stop. Not to wear.
You do what you have to do.
Hey, let me ask you something. You need this fine
Do what you have
facility.
to
Does
do.
the air conditioning work in this room, or are you competing with the?
You a little warm?
Mr. Oliver, I want you to check the numbers on that. Okay?
Are you a little warm, Des Moines?
Hey, I was just looking over the
We gonna tell Robert Dowling.
Yeah, good. What is on? 55? Oh, okay. We put it was on. It was hot. It was higher than that.
All right.
Back to the finance committee.
What's the name of the organization?
Narrow.
Narrow, that's what I heard.
Sure.
So all of the housing authorities.
Throughout the country. Hey man, how you doing, Gary?
Good. You doing okay?
Doing good.
Good to see you, brother.
Joe, man, you know we got Sam McKay. Sam served.
Yeah, man. I know. Knew Sam very well. As a matter of fact, they got a scholarship.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Got a scholarship in his name. It's on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
In case that's when I can cut.
Oh, well, let me tell you, it's gonna be a weekend. It's gonna be, we made it fun.
Sam's Alexander is well respected too.
Afternoon, Friday,
Sam is well respected. He was a commissioner.
He was well respected in our community too.
That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Okay, no, that's the specific places.
They got
You have
it.
it, okay.
Down there is because you talked to me about it. Okay, that's
No, he's
Same here. So
Yeah,
I did, I
yeah,
selected
yeah.
36 elected captains to bring force on. So that's today. We're not going to play. We're trying to
No kid.
How you been?
I'm well. How are you doing today?
Good.
That's great.
Finance committee national.
Great.
Oh, boy. Because we're going to have to after the tournament, we go professional competition. And we're going to have awards, prizes, dinner. So we'll want the persons at the Friday, at 7 o'clock. And the team that we have to be.
Your son?
My son.
Nigga, this much.
Because, and then we want every team, instead of we send the messages to them, everyone's with each other all the time.
How's your new job going? Okay.
Loving it. So we'll have 36 spots for
A lot of travel, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
you might be, so that's pay
In
for it.
fact, I thought I was gonna have to
For your team?
For my
be in New Orleans
You mean that? And I can't play?
today, but yeah,
You say you booked out?
stuff we got working on.
But, we don't have.
Stuff we're working on.
And this is mainly guys, Joe. So I want to support.
All right. Okay, all right.
I kept the, yeah, the store. I kept all those.
So what would that be on then? 500 plus what is?
Plus whatever the food and beverage. We don't care.
Hammond said he was coming.
Alcohol, alcohol.
Yeah, just leave it with me. Yeah.
It's really Scotland community from Southern really excited about this thing. We got guys. They used to be an old.
It's a shame I didn't listen more to you. My head
Is that advanced biomedical?
I had planned it at that time. This
Well, you told me about, well, yeah, but you told me.
I ain't living.
Yeah, I don't know what that went to advanced biomedical. It may have been a we'll put a disbursement. Something that came from the university.
Good.
What it is, I just kind of put it out.
Yeah.
They give it
Yeah. She probably knows. She'll be able to pull it too. All right.
Okay, appreciate it.
No problem. All right, cool.
You say this, but it's the way it's came.
Cardiology said don't.
That's family, that's 90% of time. Mexico in a few months.
Good morning.
No, I'm good. Thank you. You right?
Sure. Well, I'm good.
You
Thank
good?
you. I had butter on mine already, I think.
Oh, all right.
Good
You
enough.
told me
You know,
I'm good.
go back to
I was the one looking for it, but I don't need it. I'm almost finished. You want some? No, babe, I'm good.
You know what I got? The closest I get.
That would ask you a question.
Okay.
On that document that you sent me yesterday, $6,000 for.
Our fees.
Oh, that
I'm
was
thinking about applying to the game.
Split shot was a check.
Thinking about applying to the Southern game.
Oh, we do a check.
One in Dallas.
We're taking it out and we put it into another bank. That's why.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. There's
That was
Rob.
my question.
All right.
Okay, appreciate it.
I can get to Southern if I.
Mr. Hill, see.
Like my white dog.
How you doing, Doc? Good morning. How are you? Good.
How you doing?
Come on, Mr. L. Dr. Milton right here, right?
This is Dr. Belton right here.
How you doing?
Working being at home.
And I could find How you doing? I'm doing good, babe.
Give me my hood.
Well, Kamika told me that he has to come from his sister. That's why I started. I thought it was
Hey, Doc, how you doing?
but I don't know why he put it in there. The president.
Yeah, he said he was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right, the next president. And Miss Galvin.
Yeah, but back in the day,
The president, how you doing?
Freddie Johnson.
See you.
God, yeah, me.
So,
What's up, Gary?
Well, I don't know.
Hey, you doing all right?
I do better looking through the whole thing. All right, how you doing? All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And he came in at the end of this last year.
Yes, sir. You know it.
She was looking for it. I know it's there. I actually checked it.
Undergraduate. We are.
Yes, sir.
Didn't you email the dollar information to Chancellor Mills?
Yeah, I just sent it to her.
That was my fault, because I didn't.
But she didn't see it in the email?
Yeah, she should have.
It was 2 checks, 1 for 3 million.
Don't come out.
Celeste, I like more.
Fine. Thank you, ma'am. But that's a, I look at the
couple of national awards.
the receipts
From
later.
Alexandra up there.
That was
She was Abrams when she was here. I'm getting Celeste Abrams when she was here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
He's looking at it.
Same thing, the last complex.
I finished
Both
it.
of us. Sort of old timers now. For instance, I've been.
Yeah, we might have started. Yeah, you want to start at 9 because some people at 9 o'clock as they start.
We're not that old.
Unfortunately,
He started down his head breaking.
I saw the draft.
Good
seeing you.
Because I'm in Georgetown, I had to talk to
So
him.
we have.
I went down to Newtown and then right to Washington.
James,
you did.
I just still getting
I understand that you're interested in the golf tournament. I understand you're interested in the golf tournament. He says, okay. But you know you can't do it.
We had a full day of
I didn't hear anything in it when I heard the discussion that each team has to have at least one female.
But I know she
said June.
Okay.
Okay, I mean that's just the bottom line.
Okay.
Okay.
Bring in the females now, $200.
We'll bring them in. I'm gonna be on somebody's team, and I don't play.
I love you to be on mine. I'm not gonna play. I'm just gonna host and manage the event.
They still wish.
Oh, well, I'll do that
I
too.
want you to. Okay.
You know, that's the big thing when they play in my
Exactly.
And I thought about double checking. They put on the big ones, they got to have women on them. I guess.
I'm ready. I'm with you. So some of the communication I'm getting text from people they said 9, but they're ready. Early's about to call them. But we do have a quorum.
How you got in without a business?
Everybody came up and spoke on the front. But anyway, that's the,
This is a beautiful building. Yeah, it's really nice.
that's the I guess that's what it's called.
I thought I was calling James Ammons.
Please don't say anything.
I was calling James Ammons.
There's none in there now, they done drink it.
I hope that is.
I hope so.
Me too, because I don't want to go through that again.
Hey, Doc.
But I,
Hey, yeah, it was the board meeting started this morning, then they got another thing on here later. They called and Sherry, Johnson, Teresa Johnson,
looking at it, we can.
confirmed for this meeting too, but it may just be.
Jocelyn, we're ready. It's Jocelyn. We're ready.
If you can come over,
Right.
I mean, we're just right over, in the foundation building. We starting at 9.
Yeah.
Are you on campus already?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We would have won.
Oh, okay, yeah, just stop over. Doctor, okay, all
By
right.
championship last year, if
Not really, what the action item is
Dr. Belton
for us
won
is,
that.
one action item is the termination.
saying how elected
Atmosphere,
We're gonna be on campus if we get the host championship.
Yeah.
I said we the one
Okay.
last year. You had the one that hat.
It is last. It is the last action
That'll be good,
item, so
Governor.
you'll be good. Because we got the auditor here. They give us a report.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I think it's
Okay.
9 o'clock. And I'd like to,
So, what y'all gonna do with the Georgetown stuff? Hello? You gotta be kidding.
Look, they have ice here.
Yeah.
They got ice there.
Are you familiar with IPI?
okay, I'd like to take this, can they hear some of the other end?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You can start.
I'd like to take this opportunity and welcome you to the board meeting and welcome to our new facility here. I think it's absolutely nice.
Yeah,
I think so. I think we all need to be absolutely proud of, you know. And I was thinking this morning, my truck looked like he wanted to go downtown. And I said, "No, we got to go on campus this morning." But we welcome your participation. We would love to have you participate, and we're going to begin the meeting with the invocation. We're going to call on Al to do that, and that will be followed by the roll call. Okay.
I'll pray again.
I don't think we can ever get enough prayers.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's all bow our heads. Eternal and all-wise Father, dear God, we thank you again for another wonderful day you've created. We thank you for the gift of life, family, and fellowship. Dear God, most of all, we thank you for the opportunity you've given us to serve you here at Southern University. Keep us focused on the tasks and the duties you have called us to here. We ask that you continue to be with our students and our faculty and our staff. Dear God, we ask that you add a special blessing upon this meeting. Might the business we discuss here serve to glorify your kingdom both on earth and in heaven. We lift up this prayer in the mighty name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Roll call.
Can everyone on the phone hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, all right. Fred Banks?
Here.
Henry Baptiste? Mr. Rutledge has Henry's proxy. Ray Belton?
Here.
James Brown?
Here.
Kelvin Coney?
Here.
Joseph Delpit? Lewis Henry? Rod Hill?
Here.
Linda Johnson?
She's here.
Martin Johnson?
Here.
Anna Jones? Mr. Rutledge has Anna's proxy. Luke Laverne? Irvin Matthews?
Here.
Des Moines Rutledge?
Here.
Joseph Stewart?
Here.
Gary Williams?
Here.
Allison Young? Mr. Rutledge has Allison's proxy. Our ex officios, Reuben Walker?
Here.
John Pierre? Lisa Mims Devizan? Rodney Ellis? Alandis McClinton?
Here.
Derek Warren? Preston Castile? He's here. Laquita Thomas?
Present.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We'll thank you. We'll proceed. Item number 3, approval of the April 2019 meeting minutes.
Move.
Motion by Mr. Rutledge, second by Mr. Brown. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next item is the approval of the consent agendas. You have the consent agendas in your packet.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Rutledge.
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Al, we're going to call on you for the approval of the 2019 second quarter financial statements.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 69, starting on page 69 in your packet, I'd like to draw your attention to the statement of financial position. This is unaudited for the period ending June 30, 2019. Total current assets, $27,720,353. Total property, plant, and equipment, $7.7 million. Total assets at the end of the period, $50,130,180. Next page, you'll see statement of financial position continues with our liabilities. Total current liabilities, $12,151,007. Total liabilities for that period, $38,894,712. Net assets unrestricted, 1.1 million, temporarily restricted, 2.6, permanently restricted, 7.4. Total net assets for the end of the second quarter, $11,235,468 for a balance of $50,130,180. Moving on to page 71, which is the statement of activities, the consolidated statement of activities for the period ending June 30, 2019. Total revenue and support, $5,763,592. Total expenses during the same time period, $2,412,362. Our investment activities, net unrealized losses and gains is a net gain of $315,833,000 for a total change in net assets, $3,667,063. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Second. Okay.
Second by who?
Mr.
Stewart.
Stewart, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted
Okay, Mr. Stewart, second the motion. Any questions? Questions, anyone? Questions, anyone on the phone? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, nay. Motion carries. Okay. We'll go to our first action item here. This is I'm going to call on Mr. Martin Johnson to introduce the auditor who will give us a report on the 2018 Southern University System Foundation audit and financial statements for the year. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow board members, at this time, I'd like to recognize Jonah Walker with J. Walker and Company to go over our audit report with us. Mr. Walker.
What page are you working from?
We on. Well, you have a set in front of you.
Yeah. Okay.
John, Dr. Walker, if you don't mind pushing that microphone in front of Mr. Yes.
This one right here.
You don't have to hold it up. It'll catch you.
Chair back a little bit. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I too want to commend you on this lovely facility here. It's a great addition not only to the university, but to the community and area as well, and so forth. Once again, I want to thank the organization for allowing us to work with you and for conducting the audit. Again, I also want to thank Al and his team again for all their assistance and help with us again with completing the audit for this particular year here again. Excuse me. There are just a couple of, I guess, points because I know you have a full agenda, so there's a couple of key items and things I just want to hit on concerning the report and other issues as well and so forth. One thing I always share about reading financial statement reports is if you have a problem with sleeping at night, pull one of these out. I can assure you within about 5 or 6 minutes, you're out like a light. So it'll probably take you a couple of weeks or readings to go through it. But if there's anything that comes up after the meeting that you want to discuss in more detail, feel free to definitely reach out to us and we'll go in more in details on those particular items there as well and so forth. First thing I always want to say concerning the report is that we were able to issue an unmodified opinion, basically saying, as we would say, a clean opinion, basically, and so forth in that respect. So, again, commends to the team for their diligence in terms of handling financial reporting for the organization. Just on highlight, and I'll start basically on the balance sheet, based on page 4 and so forth. Our numbers are a little bit different. Al just presented your second quarter financials. These, of course, that are at your in the year 2018. So there are going to be some variations in numbers, particularly, like, for example, the assets. For example, this particular building here was probably 6 months in development, and so its full value, of course, was not going to be reported at 12/18. Similar to the debt relating to the facility is not going to be presented at full amount. So you're going to see some variations of those numbers. You start to say, well, hey, I'll say we had this kind of numbers and this so forth, and why are your numbers a little different? It's because of that timing element on those items there and so forth. The only probably big thing I was commenting on both on the balance sheet side, which we pretty much, I guess, toward the end of last year, was that the university did a refinance on some of the bonds that was basically being held by the foundation and so forth. And so that basically reduced both your asset, the receivable, and of course the liability related to the bonds and so forth. And I understand there's even some talks about even doing maybe a refi on some of the existing numbers, so that numbers will change again, particularly next year as well. For this year, and I think I sort of commented last year, we have a new, not us, but basically there's a change in the presentation of net assets for nonprofits. As you remember before, we had basically 3 classifications for net assets: permanent restricted, temporary restricted, and unrestricted funds. That sense has gone down to 2. Now we just basically have restrictions relating by the donor, and then unrestricted. No restrictions by the donor or restricted by the donor. So the presentation of net assets have basically changed under GAAP. One additional item change to that is that now if there is what we say board restricted assets, it's not presented on the face of the financials, but would be presented as a disclosure item. So discuss with Al, if the board says want to do another project similar to like this here, and you're using on unrestricted funds, the board would be a board designated restricted item. It would not be presented in the face of the financials. It just basically be a schedule in the disclosure, in the notes, indicating that the board has restricted these funds for this purpose, and so forth. So it's just a change in how your net assets are presented in the financial statements. Again, if there's any question on anything, feel free to just stop me and I'll clarify on that and so forth. On page 6, on the statement of activities and so forth, we saw a net change in the assets for the year of $1.1 million, which again, I want to commend truthfully the board and the staff for your efforts to increasing the assets of the foundation and so forth. I think it's been a joint effort in that respect, and commend you all for your endeavors with that. Did see a decrease in the value of the assets. I think I noticed on your agenda there are probably some discussions about your investment strategies and plans and things of that nature and so forth. This is that the market has been very good, and to see somewhat of a significant decrease with that. Now that's an alarming item because it is unrealized. You still have the assets, but that was a significant decrease in the value of the assets on that and so forth. Last year, I guess more in the efforts of more transparency and just more information to the readers, we started putting in schedules relating to the Bayou Classic. And we sort of talked on this last year. I won't go a lot more into details we did last year, but the Bayou Classic technically is a fundraising event for the organization, and as such, under IRS guidelines, there are certain reporting separately for fundraising that basically should happen. And so previously, a lot of the activity relating to the Bayou Classic was just basically embedded into your financials. You just really couldn't extrapolate very easily that activity by just looking at the financials and so forth. So we started working with Al and his team and the management team for the Bayou Classic to start to try to get specific financial information relating to the Classic and sort of, have ability to present that information. And so we sort of are tweaking that process. We have some of the reports and supplemental schedules in the back of the report and so forth. One of the elements we're still working on with Al and his team is, a good way to pull those numbers out to your financials for presentation purposes. Because again, some of the numbers are still somewhat embedded in there. And under IRS guidelines, we really should be able to show, because it is a fundraising event, and we should be able to show those costs and those numbers separately from your financial reporting on that as well. In line with that, it was the other item that we discussed last year about unrelated business income, UBI, and as relates basically to the sponsorship. And we didn't go at probably as much in detail this past fiscal year as I would like. Al and I had some discussions on it. We're going to be basically make sure that everything's in line with that, particularly, and Al, you correct me, I'm wrong on this. There's some relationships that's really with the university, but it's like a pass-through basically to the foundation on some of the sponsorships, items and so forth. And so we just need to make sure that those agreements meets IRS guidelines to ensure that there's not unrelated business income related to those sponsorship arrangements and agreements and so forth, okay? Because at the end of the day, if it passes through the foundation is going to be responsible to ensure that it's properly recognized and recorded. So we're just going to, we'll probably have some conversation with Preston and so forth, just to make sure that, the agreements are outlined, what's being provided in that sponsorship to ensure that it doesn't meet the UBI guidelines for proper reporting for taxes and so forth. Let's see.
While you're looking for where you want to go next, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
The conversation you just had regarding the Bayou Classic. What I interpreted is not a clean break between the auditing you're doing, what's happening with the Classic. Could I conclude out of that there ought to be a separate, and it may already be, I just don't know, audit of the Bayou Classic, and then that independent audit results become a part of the overall audit?
You want to address it?
Yeah, I'll address it first, then you answer it. That's somewhat of, I guess, of the issue, okay, and as you go back maybe to page 30, you'll notice we indicated they're unaudited items because the management company is the company entity that's basically responsible for the activities related to the Bayou Classic. All right, it is not in your agreement that they issue to you audited financials. Okay, and I'm not recommending that you basically. I'm just pointing out a fact. So, the information that you get from them, you pretty much are relying on the fact that they're honest, upstanding, ethical business people, and they're going to be reporting back to you all of the activity that flow through to them as it relates to the Bayou Classic. Okay. My reference in terms of the reporting element on it is that as it relates to the event being classified as a fundraiser, we just need to make sure, and this is really more from IRS and the 990 element of it, to make sure that we're able to present that information correctly. And I'll give you an example on it. there are some funds that that flows directly to the foundation that they come from the state because it has to go through a nonprofit entity and so forth. Then those funds are then settled over to the management company to handle some of their initial costs and so forth. We have a concern sometimes is if that information is getting captured twice. Are we capturing the foundation as a contribution and then getting it from the management company, basically the net effect of it back? So that's what we're saying is that we're just needing to tweak the reporting element to make sure that we're not overcounting certain items and so forth. So I guess to directly answer your question, I'm not recommending or advocating that necessarily an audit basically be done. We just probably just need to make sure that we have some good financial reporting that's happening between the foundation and the management company.
How do you do that without audit accountability? How do you do that? You know what I mean? Make sure.
So let me also add another observation. So the statements that you see in the audit here, the supplements, also encompass revenue that Grambling has received as well, right? And so one of the things that the reason that we receive the statements from the management company in the way that we do is because at the end of the day, it is after all expenses are paid, there's net income to both universities through their foundations. So if you go to schedule, I'll just show you the example here. Go on page 32 and 31 of the audit.
So board members that's here this room, we're on pages 30, 31, and 32. For the board members on the phone, it's pages 104, 105, and 106.
Okay.
All right.
That's right. So if you go to page 31, you will see all of the information there in terms of the game activities, the expenses that came along with it, and then you'll see Battle of the Bands, and then you'll see the net proceeds of the distribution and net distribution to each foundation. So each foundation received $208,000 after all expenses were paid, right? And if you go to page 32,
which is page 106 for those on the phone.
yes, which is page 106 for those members on the phone. All right, you will see there for net proceeds from the Bayou Classic, you'll see another distribution that went directly to the university. So you'll see proceeds to Southern at the bottom, game box office, $427,711,000. Then Battle of the Bands box office, $80,880 for a total of $508,000. That went directly to the university. That was receipted in the university's box office. So if, from a net revenue standpoint, the university received a total of $508,000 and the foundation received $208,000. The foundation's revenue comes and stems from on page 30, where you'll see on page 30 of your report, which are the ancillary activities of the Bayou Classic, right? Everything except the football game. All activities of the Bayou Classic to exclude the football game. And so that's the Battle of the Bands and all the other activities, as well as sponsorship revenue. The foundation receives that net revenue because they are responsible, the foundations, Grambling's Foundation and Southern's Foundation, are responsible for the expenses of all of those activities associated with the ancillary income.
But game ticket revenue does not come to us, correct?
No, it does not.
It goes directly to the university.
To the universities, and any tickets that are sold the day of the game and through Ticketmaster, it goes directly to the box office to help offset the cost of expenses for the Battle of the Bands and for the football game.
So the entries captured on page 32
Yes.
represent game box office revenue and Battle of the Band revenue, right?
Yes.
And so, Mr. Auditor, what obligation would we have to capture and account for in our financial statements the game revenue that never comes to us? We don't touch it. It never comes to any of our coffers. Both universities collect it at the point of sale and deal with it accordingly. What obligations would we have to capture that in our financial statements?
You do not. You have not. Right.
Now, the Battle of the Band games, the Battle of the Band ticket sales do come to us.
They go to the university first, and we invoice the university for them because we don't have a Ticketmaster account. So,
and then because we are responsible for supporting and that's considered an ancillary activity, right? And so we're responsible for the expenses associated with the ancillary. And so what we do is we make certain that the expenses associated with the Battle of the Bands are paid for, and then we write back a check to the institutions, or how does that work?
if there are funds available, and in the the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement, it says that the university and the foundation must mutually agree upon any ancillary income on how it can be distributed.
Final question, is there anything, Mr. Walker, is there something that to enlarge or get to the heart of Mr. Stewart's observation, is there anything, and maybe you said this and I didn't process it, is there something that you suggest that we do differently than we're currently doing with this information?
The only thing I would say differently is maybe just, I guess, sort of fine tuning the reporting process. Again, we really just started the process with the management company last year. They pretty much gave us their format in terms of how they do the reporting. There's probably some maybe additional, more detailed information that I would like maybe see in the reporting.
Give me an example of what that detail.
Probably just more, instead of just giving us the numbers, actually give us what make up the trend. Like, for example, the sponsorships. Okay. We're just giving the number, but we're not giving who the sponsorships are. And so the gentleman's question as an auditor,
you want to see some receipts, huh?
I want to see some names. I mean, let's be honest. As the gentleman's bringing up, we're taking their word on it.
I understand.
They're saying, and I'm not saying this could happen, but again, I'm an auditor. Kind of look at things. You run into somebody and they say, "Oh, I had a great time. We sponsored that event for the game and so forth." And you'd be like, "Oh, you did? What event? And how much did you pay for that?" And I'm not saying that happened, but if we at least know who the transactions are with, maybe we might want to send them a thank you or something of that nature. So there's more information.
Yeah, they do provide us with the list of the sponsors and their corresponding sponsorship value, whether it's a gift in kind or whatever it may be. And we can provide that to you, but there is not detail associated with it, so you don't always see the contract in the agreement. And I think what John is driving towards is being able to see if that is a true sponsorship, right? And should we calculate that as pure fundraising revenue as opposed to sponsorship?
Correct. Because again, at the end of the day, and I think I sort of said this last year, we have to look at the Bayou Classic as an event being put on by the two foundations. I think sometimes, and I think I had even looked at it like this previously, it was this organization that put it on, and then at the end of the day, they made a charitable contribution to two organizations. And that's incorrect. It is the two organizations that's putting on the event, and they're netted. So all of the activity that occurs for it, including sponsorship, is the responsibility of the two foundations. So if the sponsorship falls under UBI, unrelated business income activity, that may be a reportable item on the 990. So that's why I'm making reference to having more information, because I just want to make sure that when we're using the term sponsorship, that's not falling under the guidelines of UBI, which we may have to, report that as taxable activity. And it's real quick. We do understand that. But I'm saying that why I bring that up is under IRS guidelines, when you do a sponsorship, if you get something basically of value back for that sponsorship,
Cost of benefit.
Okay, right. Then it becomes a situation that it can be taxable to the nonprofit entity. So that's why I just want to make sure that we don't have some relationships that we're not properly reporting.
The bottom line to what I was driving at is what I call the integrity of this board. Is the foundation upon which we can raise money and support the university. If we don't have that, if we ever lose it, we lose the ability to be what we hope to be. And so we ought to be able to answer questions. The whole Bayou Classic, I still don't totally understand it. That may not be important, but the accountability for it, I can have that sense of accountability if there was an audit that knew and could document what this is, so that we can answer any question anybody raised. And I don't feel comfortable that we can do that now. And that was the basis of my question, to say, do we need to do something? I don't know of anything. I'm not looking for anything but accountability.
And legal counsel just stepped out of the room, but I know there may be some language and some additional requirements that we can put in the agreement with the management company to provide us with an audit of the Bayou Classic.
That's
I
what
know
I'm saying.
now that organization has an audit, right? Not just for the Bayou Classic, but for all of its activities that they have throughout the year. But that's something that we can make a requirement or consider, and it would have to be agreed upon by Gramblin's Foundation as well, to add that in the MOU, because that is the CEA is between the foundations and the board of supervisors for each institution.
That's fine, except I never want my reputation subject to somebody else's agreement with what they want.
Yeah, I get it.
It's important that we know what we want.
Yeah, and we can articulate that. And I think, John, you just write those notes down, and we'll share that with the management company, and try to work towards that. Preston, you walked out of the room. You just maybe consider adding language to the contract with NOCCI or the management company, whoever they may be, to have a requirement for some form of audit, or what's the other thing?
Audit
review,
something. Maybe.
Not a full audit, but audit review.
So I think Ms. Johnson.
Just for clarification, so asking them to provide audited financial statements of all of their Bayou Classic activities, or do you want to just get together and work on some language that might be appropriate? We had a discussion with NOCCI when we first entered into the relationship about how we wanted them to present financials. So let's visit with them and figure out what.
And again, as Preston is saying, my thing on it first, sir, is that, and I agree 100% with what you're saying on that. I think there's some ways that we can get to that level of getting the information. Now, as time passes, we say, okay, well, we may need to take this to another level, then maybe we do look at a review or audit. But I think initially we can at least get to a point of saying, okay, this is certain information that we need to receive, not just some basic items. Be a little bit more detailed in terms of provide us this, and this. And then if we get from that point that we say, hey, we may need a little bit more assurance about your numbers, then maybe we can talk about, a review or something of that nature. I just don't want to put a financial burden on someone, to that level and so forth. But I think there's some things that Preston's bringing up that we can do in the interim to get a better comfortability in terms of the numbers.
Okay, Ms. Johnson.
When I looked at this online, I had a question, and after hearing all this, I have the same question. On page 7, it said that the Bayou Classic expenses was $264,000, and on page 31, it said that we made $208,000. Now, does that mean that there was a loss?
No. I mean, I'll answer the first item, and I think I'll let Al extrapolate. As it relates to, if you look on page 6 in the report, you'll see the Bayou Classic revenue numbers at the top, in the middle column.
Right.
All right. Some of the expenditures relating that the foundation is responsible for are embedded into the body of the statement of activities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we want to get to, is where we basically are able to pull out a report just for the foundation relating to what are its true revenues and its true expenses relating basically to it. Now the other report, I think, is a cumulative item, and there are some other costs that's associated with it. So yeah, it makes it look like there's a loss. Let me say this outside of basically being, because I had some same question last year when Al and I was talking on this, and I got a better understanding of it. The Bayou Classic is not a loss,
Well,
not to the foundation or to the university.
The university side is very obvious that it's a positive, but when I was looking at the foundation side,
It's a benefit to the foundation as well. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so fellow board members, we've come a long way with the Bayou Classic reporting, and we still, I believe, have a ways to go to make sure that we're clear on what the university and what we're actually collecting for this event. Going forward, especially with this audit, we have a clean audit, and we've come a long way with that process. I wouldn't want anything in our financial statements that's a part of our financial statements that we're not sure about. So I recommend, Al and Jonah, we come up with something that we can recommend to this board where we're very clear that we're comfortable with everything related to the Bayou Classic that we're including in our audited financial statements. We have an unqualified opinion with no findings. So that's very important to us as we move forward with everyone that's donating money to us. And so if we have things that we're concerned about with the reporting, we need to fix that. And I know we can get there. And by the way, if we want to require an audit as a part of our agreement, it's probably the renewal of it is probably coming up in a year. But if it's something that
4-year contract with a 2-year renewal.
Okay, so Preston, if we need to amend it, the agreement on how we want it, what we want from them, in order for us to be comfortable that we understand all of these numbers and everything's flowing, and we've gotten any questions or concerns that you may have addressed. We just need to fix that.
Now, if for the record, this, as you have noted on pages 31 through 33, this is not a part of our audit. This is unaudited. Correct. This was added as a supplement in notes. So I want to make sure that we understand that. So we're not saying that this is a part of our financials.
And it clearly states that it's unaudited.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's being provided as informational.
And now this information that you're providing, is that for the purpose of 990 reporting?
No, I don't think this will be.
Because I'm thinking.
He said
the Bayou Classic report is a part of the 990 that you report to IRS.
Some of the information, right, we extrapolate from the audit report and the unaudited items to prepare the 990. That's correct.
Okay, no, I'm talking about the Bayou Classic being a part of the 990.
Well, only as we treat it as a fundraising event for the foundation. So, and only that portion that comes, that's a responsibility of Southern University Foundation.
Okay.
Al?
Yes? Who's on the phone?
Yeah, Irving Matthews.
Okay.
Yeah, Irving Matthews. Hey, one quick question. Are there any funds that are channeled to us through the management company?
In terms of what? Now, they're responsible for after all expenses are paid, and on page, Martin, can you show me what page it is on theirs?
He
But-
can't see that, he don't have the.
Yeah, but on page 31 of the audit,
So that should be 105 for you guys.
yeah, the management company is responsible for sending us the net income after all ancillary expenses are paid. But there's no dollars that are channeled through us in terms of sponsorships, right? So those go directly to the management company per the agreement that we have with the management.
My thoughts are, if they handle any of our funds, we definitely ought to audit it.
Well, they handle the funds for the event. We don't send any of our revenue through them. So when they're securing sponsorships on behalf of the event for Southern and Grambling. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. But all of the revenue that we receive, for instance, if we sell suites at the Bayou Classic, that revenue comes directly to us. It does not go to it doesn't go to NOCCI.
I don't want to get into a balance. Thank you. All right, guys, I'm sorry. But Al, my thoughts are there any funds at all that they're collecting and be it sponsorships or whichever, in my opinion, we ought to audit it to make sure that it's accurate.
Understood. Yeah, well, I think that was the recommendation from Martin. I think that's the recommendation from the auditor in some sense as well. And Preston's going to look into it in terms of getting with General Counsel for the Grambling Foundation to put some language together to offer the NOCCI.
And Al, let's add this to our next audit committee meeting.
Okay.
And we'll discuss it and come back to you guys with a recommendation.
That's a good idea.
Well, if that's it for me, unless there's any other questions.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And what I'd also like to do is give Al and our employees a hand, another unqualified audit. That's very important to us in everything that we're doing. So
I move approval of
Do you hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Gary. Again, we'd like to commend Al and his staff on a job well done, and I think we going to carry the motion in a second. The audit committee will have just a little bit more work to do, and we'll get that done. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Contrary, nay. Motion carries. Let's go to the action item 2, investment committee. Consideration to approve account from market link certificates of deposit for the investment portfolio managed by Raymond James Financial. Martin.
Okay, fellow board members, for those of you who didn't get a chance to come to the homegoing celebration of our previous chairman, Mr. Bill Tucker, the board was well represented. Our chairman was there along with several board members, and Al got a chance to present, speak on behalf of the foundation and Bill's contribution to Southern University. And Al did an outstanding job, and I thoroughly enjoyed the homegoing services for him. What I do want y'all to know, that after his services, I got a call from my chairman, and he let me know that he was going to have me to step up to be the chairman of the investment committee. And so I had to go on and confide in him that I'm no Bill Tucker. So I used to call in to a lot of the meetings, and Bill literally would read every word on every page of all of those investment reports, and they were very thick. And then after our investment advisors would present, the results of each quarter and, the annual reports to us, Bill would grill them with all kind of different things that he wanted to know, and he was very detailed. And after he finished, he said, Gary, and then he said, Martin, do you have anything? I said, no, Mr. Chairman, I think you've covered everything, okay? So I want to let you know that he set a very high standard for how we manage our funds, and he was very committed. And I've said this to several of you, I love serving on this board because we have members who are very committed, and Bill gave me a renewed energy when it came to board commitment and our responsibility. So I don't take it lightly that I'm asked to chair investments right now, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we're doing things properly and making sure that we whatever's been voted on by this board, rebalancing accounts and everything, we're gonna adhere to what's been approved. Since the last meeting, about $4 million have been transferred from the university to us, and we did what the board approved at the last meeting, which was to transfer those funds to Raymond James. And so the item that's on our agenda today is to consider for the board to approve us utilizing some of the cash portion that we have allocated to how we balance our accounts and manage our accounts. We want to consider doing some market rate CDs. And what does that mean? Well, if you went into a regular bank and they might be paying you 1% or less, these market rate CDs, these are the larger banks. Some of the I believe the top 8 banks in the U.S. Morgan Stanley, J.P. Morgan Chase. You can go in and ask them for a market rate CD, and it's something similar to a return that you get on a bond. You're guaranteed your principal, and you're generally going to have a higher rate. So what we want y'all to consider today is giving us the ability to allow Raymond James to go out and search for the best terms for us on the cash portion of our investments. Now, we have other things that are in stocks and bonds and real estate and other things, but this is only related to what we have in what we consider very liquid assets. You want to add anything to that?
It'll be short-term CDs? It will be short-term?
Well, some of these, they're going to be staggered 3, 5, and 7 year CD rates.
May I ask a question in terms of the risk allocation that we currently have? How has that changed based on this approach?
So I was going to address that. I knew that would be a question. If you go to page 49 of your packet, it will give you an asset allocation as of the end of June 2019. And this is just for Raymond James. There, let me know. So up top, you'll see our asset allocation. Currently, we're allocated 34% in cash and cash alternatives, fixed income 19.5%, and equity 39.8%. The portion in alternatives, I apologize, 6.6%. The portion that you currently see in cash and cash equivalents, right? That is all of the new transfer. So when we transfer the dollars over, right, what historically happens before they allocate it, they put it in cash. What Raymond James presented to the investment committee was they wanted to open up new accounts, market link CDs, to add to our equity portfolio, right? And so that's what you'll see there. So those assets that you currently see under cash and cash alternatives will be deployed into fixed income, equity, and alternative investments. If you go back to our investment policy allows the investment managers to put up to 60% in equity, which is stocks, and it also allows them to put 100% in the cash. at any time that the market pretty much tanks. So this will be deployed in our current asset mix as it was historically once the board approves or not, right, the item that's on the agenda for action item 2.
So Al, you saying we're gonna use the whole 4 million, or we're gonna have some cash on hand?
Yeah, so we only historically, before this transfer came over, we had less than 5% of our allocation in cash. Okay. The rest of it will be deployed. The category that the market linked CDs go under would be under equity.
Okay. Each bank, if once this is approved, would receive a maximum of $250,000 because that's the limit on the FDIC insurance. Mm-hmm. So what we're talking about doing is, putting $250 as much as they deem appropriate for our asset allocation with each institution. And hopefully, we're going to get a very nice return.
Yeah, I think so.
And if we ever need the cash, it's very easy to liquidate a CD.
And the current performance over the last 6 months through the second quarter is right at 11.8% is our current performance for this year.
Questions?
That's the overall portfolio.
I think it's a good suggestion, minus one consideration, that we not put anything in the Deutsche Bank.
Oh, Deutsche Bank?
Yeah. That's an exclusion.
Oh, yeah. I understand. I looked at I was a part of the meeting, and we thought it was a good thing once we did get the details on it, and these CDs can be beneficial to the foundation. And I had a lot of questions, but we do this all the time with credit union moving CDs in. It provides us with liquid cash when these mature. So I would strongly recommend it also.
And the maturity date staggered, right? I think they go as 3? It's 3 to 7.
Yeah,
is the range.
Any other questions? Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Joe.
It was motion by Joe Stewart and seconded by Ms. Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah. Just wanted to do that for the tape recorder. So.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Stewart, second by Ms. Linda Johnson to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries nay. Motion carries. Okay. Okay, let's go to action item number 3. This comes from the Executive Committee. Consideration to approve Quantico Tenant Choice LLC lease termination. And of course, I'm going to ask Al if he would go ahead and explain this action item, and we'll open it up for discussion right after that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also going to punt this over to Mr. Castile, who reviewed.
Hot potato, yeah.
If I were sitting in this order.
Does that mean I get to punt it?
Once we start through,
Hand it over to Ray.
And next is going to go to Ray.
I think you noticed how quick I flipped it over. I would, just for the benefit of those on the phone and those who hear, we have met a couple of times on this item, and we have discussed it pretty good. So what you're hearing is the summary of what we did. Mr. Attorney, you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I would just, the Preston's reviewed this termination agreement, and I think that's what the item is on the agenda. But there's some background information that he can provide for you in terms of how this has come to this point. In addition to, if you don't mind, Preston, pushing it back over to me, because the last item in this document in here is the current statement of activities for the project that I go through for the group.
Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. CEO, Mr. Chairman. What's being presented today is obviously the termination agreement. The executive committee came to a conclusion in collaboration with the university that it's in the best interest of all of the parties, the university and the foundation, to terminate the relationship with XCOR and Quantico Tenant Choice in particular. As all of you know, the foundation and the university went through a very deliberative process and making a determination to enter into this project. And I think Dr. Belton would agree that what was the basis in large measure for the foundation and the university entering into this project was the relationship with XCOR. Through the process, and as we discussed at our last meeting, we talked about what the relationship would be. And the lease was one thing that was, of course, very, very important. But what was going to go on in the facility was obviously critically important. And much of it was premised upon the relationship with XCOR. And as you noticed at the last meeting, the relationship had begun to deteriorate, and it continued to sort of completely fall apart shortly thereafter. We had been presented some numbers in terms of what we thought the project was going to yield in terms of revenue and expenses that Al will talk about shortly. And some of those numbers weren't quite bearing out, but more importantly, for this to work, because this was intended to be a cybersecurity program with XCOR at the heart of it. And that relationship really just fell apart. And we reached a point where we felt like we shouldn't go any further. One thing I want to highlight, as it related to the lease itself, that the lease provided that the landlord would contribute $35 a square foot for the build out of the lease, of the facility. And as a part of that lease, we also agreed that if we wanted to add more to that build out, which was going to be about $331,000 that the landlord would put in, that we could have financed through the lease an additional $10 a square foot, which is about $94,000. Somewhere along the way, in the discussions with the landlord and the university, the landlord took the position and believed it had authority to build out the space at an amount much greater than that. And so the numbers that were presented at the last meeting showed options for the build out. Option number one being at about $135 a square foot, the second one at about $110 a square foot, and the third at about $50 a square foot. So that raised questions of how do we get into this range of 135, 110 versus either 35 or 45. And after much debate going back and forth in terms of whether or not they had authority to build out the space at anything greater than $35 and at most $45 a square foot, we sent a couple representatives to see how the planning process was going. And they ultimately agreed, frankly, that they would comply with the $35 or $45, whichever we preferred, for the build out of the space. Even though they had shown the other options, they ultimately agreed that fine, we'll do the 35, but it's not going to be all of the things that were represented in the brochures, but it's going to be something much more modest based out on the expense. The long and short of it is that notwithstanding the cost of the build out, the real issue was this now going to be successful? And I think there was a united business decision that was made by the university and the foundation that this was not going to be in the best interest of the parties to proceed, particularly the foundation and the university. We then had some discussions about how we might terminate. If you will recall, Caesar Nader suggested at that meeting that, look, if everybody wants to walk away, let's figure out a way to walk away. And then maybe a few weeks later, we came to this conclusion that we'd like to now talk about that after things got worse. And that led to some negotiations and a presentation of what would it take to walk away. And ExCorp, Caesar Nader, basically said, look, I've got $253,000 in expenses that I've already put into it. We'll waive the entire lease if I can recoup the cost that I put in as a part of this relationship. In exchange, the foundation and university gets out of the lease. The first point in which the foundation could terminate the lease would be in 30 months. That's about $1 million in rental payments that would be paid. And certainly if we went longer, it's much greater than that. And so while Al did step out, it was concluded that this was becoming much riskier and something that we did not want to collectively proceed. And so ultimately, with some negotiations back and forth, we agreed that the $253,000 was something that we were willing to pay with the understanding that the program would continue, the cybersecurity program, but in a different manner. And Dr. Belton, I'll kick it over to you shortly. But with the idea that the program will certainly continue here in Louisiana, among the campuses in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and New Orleans, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Belton, and maybe at some other location as well that I'll let Dr. Ammons and Dr. Belton expound upon more. But at the end of the day, I think the collective business decision was to walk away, and you find in the agreement terms. Now, I will mention and emphasize as strongly as I can that we negotiated sort of an installment plan to allow the payment to be made over the course of a year with 3 installments. It's critical that those payments be made. We could have just paid it all up at one time, but to sort of manage cash flow, we've negotiated 3 equal payments of about $84,000 apiece over the course of the next 12 months. But if we fail to make those payments, the consequences are that we're responsible for the obligations. And that includes if we fail to pay just the last payment. And so we can pay it all up front. There's no prepayment penalty, but it's critically important that we are not late in making those payments if we choose to pay them through the 3 payments that have been negotiated as a part of the termination agreement. With that said, I was sort of filibustering a little bit to punt back to Al, but he hadn't walked back in. That may be a little bit, that may be deliberate, but in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll.
Payment plan in here?
Why there is a 3 payment? Why there are 3 payments? Yeah. So really the issue, and just talking to Al, is one of the challenges is we were trying to terminate before the end of the fiscal year. And it became an issue of cash flow because the university at the end of the fiscal year, frankly, could not pay that money at the end of the fiscal year. And it was like within the last 30 months. So that made it challenging when we had an opportunity to actually terminate before that. And then now the 3 payments, frankly, is a function of just managing cash. And I think that, if we could pay it up front, pay it and be done. But on the other hand, I understand it's a matter of managing cash, and now probably can speak to what it is that he wants to accomplish in meeting certain thresholds in terms of cash balances. But that really is a function of just managing cash. But there's no reason other than that not to pay it all at once. That said, I know you walked in, but while you're getting situated again, Dr. Belton, if you want to chime in and correct me if I made any mistakes with my presentation.
No, actually, Attorney Steele was very thorough in providing an overview of what occurred. I would just preference any further comments I would like to make by first acknowledging this board singularly for even considering this project. We went into this project and we asked you to consider it in keeping with our aim to kind of diversify opportunities that may generate sources of revenue that would ultimately enable us to push out our goals and advance the interests of Southern University. And you, through your commitment to Southern University, extended to us that opportunity. I'd like to thank that notwithstanding a relationship that was compromised and based on what I believe to be trust or questions of integrity by the landlord, I think we still have an opportunity to nonetheless establish a center of excellence for cybersecurity here in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and New Orleans, and ultimately reconsider positioning ourselves in Virginia at a later date. We've already been asked to consider other properties by way of alumni there, but we feel confident that the demand nevertheless remains, and that we could ultimately achieve our goals, albeit not in the accelerated form to which we had originally presented to this board. To just echo what Preston made mention, the lease was predicated on an investment of probably $300,000 a year. And with the changes to which the owner presented to us, it would have escalated to as much as $800,000 a year in terms of lease. And I think that was discussed during the last board meeting when Caesar came down to visit with this board. And that debate or that discussion just continued to the point where we just recognized that that relationship had been compromised. As Preston pointed out, we, in collaboration with the executive committee, found it prudent at this particular time to move in this direction. And in keeping with issues of cash flow, the CFO has indicated that we are prepared to pay our allotment in totality at present. If it is, I think it is the desire of the university, to do that at this time, in light of the fact that we're moving into a new fiscal year. But again, with the promise that we would ultimately recoup those outlays of expenses as we push out the establishment of the center nonetheless.
I'll make a follow-up there. On page 130 in your packet, I just want to give the board an update on the current financial position and what we're planning to do moving forward. So if you go to 130, this is the statement of activities for the project as of June 30, 2019. There's no revenue reported through that period, but we do have expenses of $92,298.21. If this body approves the termination agreement in its current form, that would add another $350,000 to that number. Our plan moving forward to balance this statement of activities is to begin to generate revenue from the cybersecurity program, and in hopes over the course of the next 12 months to meet a break even in terms of our expenses. And then when we come back to this board this time next year, our hope, you'll see an adjusted budget there as well, because we're going to take off, we're going to reduce some of the projected revenue that's there based off of some new projections from the consultant. Our hope is to be at a break-even point over the course of the next 12 months.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have one question. Al, tell me again, even if we force this issue at the originally contemplated $35 a square foot rate, what's the total amount of the obligation just on the lease that the foundation would assume if we went forward with this? in what Dr. Belton has characterized as a sort of a compromised relationship with the lessor. How much were we talking about again? Somewhere north of $3 million.
So in the pro forma that we presented back in January, the balance sheet showed a liability in terms of total liability over the course of 10 years was $3.7 million. Now we do have a 30-month out, which would calculate to roughly about $880,000 in lease payments to the landlord. So if you subtract the amount that's being proposed for the termination agreement from the 880, right? We have a savings to some extent, if you want to call it that, of about roughly a little over $330,000. So that's why we're recommending it from the financial side, right? It gives us an opportunity to freeze expenses as well as get out of a long-term agreement to some regard and begin to focus on revenue.
I have a question. Al, you just said we have $94,000 already owed. That does not include the $84,000 that's in the agreement.
It's not owed, it's been paid.
Oh,
it's in expenses. That's in the statement of activities.
Yeah.
You'll see that there.
So so I need to subtract that then, adding it. So the $253,000 is our obligation, so our obligation is $120-some thousand.
120 roughly.
Okay, I don't know.
Foundation and
the
from,
university.
in the university.
I'm of the opinion, and I'll put it in a motion whether it passes or not, that we ought to just go on and pay it. The university is ready with their portion. I would rather see us be totally out of this and be done with it. So the motion would be to pay it in full, the $253,000.
So y'all have already discussed this with them. Would they be agreeable to some discount if we paid it all up front?
I don't know if Preston's had that discussion. I know the document that you have here is what they presented, and it's my experience dealing with this organization that they're going to want the total 253. That a discount would be.
Ms. Johnson, I don't like owing anybody anything.
Me either.
However, I do want. Would you allow Al to speak to what, if anything, that does to our cash flow?
Yeah,
does that
yeah.
put you in a? Does that put us in a pickle if you stroked one check as opposed to three?
No, it would not. I mean, you know, if we had to stroke the whole check for 253, of course. But no, the 120 wouldn't be an issue.
I think the consideration was really given to the university when we started talking about these extended payments. And quite frankly, it would allow us to make a payment within this fiscal year and next fiscal year. But I think the university felt like, you know, at this point, it would probably be to our best interest to just kind of terminate this thing in full and be prepared to do so.
You say the cost avoidance is how much?
253. It's in the contract. It's in the proposal.
No. He's talking
from us paying this versus having to pay the 880.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a huge difference. I mean, you're talking about close to a little over 400 and
Close to 5.
Close to 5,000. 500,000.
30 month out.
30 month out.
So when we approve this, the 253 lump sum, get rid of this guy, let's move. There still was another figure I heard, and should I add that you said something about 300 and something?
No. Yeah,
I
misstated the number. It's 253.
No. 253 is what it takes to terminate.
Correct.
You said another number, and I'm not sure where it connected, that there was a $300 and some thousand, because I found myself adding the two together as a total loss to us.
No.
We had already spent 300 and something.
No. We've already spent 92,000 in expenses.
Okay.
And if you add the 253 to the 92, that's our total investment. If this body votes right now.
In a sense, that's our total loss.
Total loss. Total investment, total loss.
What is it? Three what?
It's going to be roughly about, it's going to be almost, it's going to be like 390, 380.
92, 298. But that's, a portion of that is being assumed by the university.
Yeah, but it's going to show on our balance sheet. right? And because we have the obligation for the lease, so the university has to cut the check to the foundation, then the foundation cuts the check to. So I'm sharing with you what's going to show on our balance sheet.
Yeah.
We have the obligation for the 253, not the university. The university is paying that
Yeah,
portion.
I respect all of that discussion, but bottom line to me, we one and the same.
Yes.
The only reason we're here is because of the university. So the university spends, we spend.
No,
and
correct.
it doesn't go to kids or something else to build a university, period, to me. And so I'm saying total all in, it's that 92 plus the 253.
Correct.
So we lose to the potential we have, 300 some thousand.
Yes.
Okay, that's all it is.
Al, I have another question.
Mhm.
So, if we're going to do the cyber security education portion, did we have to commit to that person? Because they came and talked to us.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was now, but.
So that contract is still under review, and
Oh,
that has
okay.
not come before this body. We're focused on that. Once we take action on this, we'll be able to pivot into negotiating that agreement in terms of getting them to work, so we can start generating some revenue.
When Mr. Nader came to address us in the last meeting, the minutes reflected that that he said that if the university and the foundation was uncomfortable with the agreement, that he was allowed to exit the lease at no cost. I think I saw that in the minutes.
It is in the minutes, and it's recorded as well. But that goes to the point that, why we're uncomfortable with this, because Mr. Nader has said, a number of things that has not been consistent.
So when he said no cost, he didn't mean what he said. No cost, Republican.
Okay.
That's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here, right? Exactly why we're here. We're trying to get out of this.
So, are there any other questions? Any other comments? Hear none. I'd like to get a motion to take care of action item number 3. Who made the motion?
I made the motion, but I'd like for us to pay it because the university is ready, so that we're finished with it.
Okay.
So within
And motion-
in this, talks about the 3 payments, you gotta go back and rewrite that.
Well, we have the option to pay it all at once. We don't have to,
Oh,
we don't have
okay.
to change the agreement.
Okay.
Alan, I thought I saw somewhere in our report here that this might affect some real estate acquisitions that we want to make. We might need some cash available for that. Was that, did I interpret that right, or?
Yeah, it's referenced. That's in the minutes. But basically, what we were hoping to be able to do at the beginning of the year, right, is strategically and quietly acquire properties around the campus.
Right.
Our cash position, right, is not at an advantageous standpoint because of some of this deal mainly, and we're not able to do that right now. But we hopefully be able to do that in the third quarter.
We've still got the $1 million march coming up with some other stuff. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Did I get a second on motion?
Second?
Okay.
No, James.
Somebody else said. A second.
Okay.
Okay, guys, y'all don't like my motion, that's all right.
Who seconded? It was the motion was made by
Glenn.
Ms. Johnson,
Yeah,
and it was
second.
seconded by. I'm just saying it so we
Yeah.
can get on.
And that's to also include
Rod seconded. Okay,
Right.
Roderick
Okay.
Hill made the second. Okay.
That is also to include the payment, one-time payment.
And then going forward, if you need another second, Johnson & Johnson, I'll do that
Right.
next time, all right?
That's right, we got
Let's
Johnson
not get
got
into
to
a
stick together.
corporation yet. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carries nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay. Mr. President, Mr. President, you'd like to go ahead and give us a system update?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the board, I'll be rather brief, but as you know, the university is preparing for fall registration at this point. While it's early, we are trending upward in comparison to where we were last year, and I'm very optimistic that we are going to be hosting a class of students, particularly first year students, of and beyond where we were last year, such that even now we are being challenged with housing on our campus. We've already reached capacity, and as I speak, we're negotiating with other properties in and around campus to host our students, where we are in effect leasing space from them that would enable us to place our students at those facilities. Having said that, one of the things that the university is very much interested in now is trying to increase its housing stock on the campus. We had previously, I think this board had adopted a matter that provides for the foundation to serve as the developer for the university as we pursue this aim. We are looking at upward to and potentially adding 1,000 new beds on the Baton Rouge campus. And that would include beds for first-time freshmen and as well accommodations for upperclassmen and potentially students who are pursuing law as their program of study. So right now, I think we're courting, the foundation rather is courting at least 2 developers, and we are trying to whom have provided to them proposals, and we are trying to work and see what might be most appropriate as we explore these opportunities for housing. And I think at this point we were wrestling with time. Ideally, we had hoped to have housing or some slate of housing available for the fall of next year. Realistically, it looks like it may be as late as the spring of 2021. But certainly it has risen to one of our highest priorities in terms of providing housing accommodations in lieu of the projected growth that we are actually witnessing at this particular time. Thought I would just share another bit of good news, and while we have in our midst Dr. Calvin Walker, who is serving as the interim interim chancellor for the Ag Center and dean of the College of Agriculture, Family and Consumer Science. On this week, Dr. Walker facilitated the seeding of our first marijuana plant. And so we have been approved by the state to begin to harvest.
Did you bring any samples?
We have been approved.
For the record, Mr. Rutledge actually had a question.
Take that back to the board.
We have gotten all the permits and have been approved to begin to harvest medical marijuana.
October.
That's right. And so we would anticipate having a product by October of this year.
Yes, sir.
Man,
that's quick.
That's right.
Wow.
And so we've made a lot of progress, and I want to recognize Dr. Walker for his leadership in facilitating this to date, and also to recognize him in lieu of the fact that he was one of 3 finalists who pursued the permanent role of chancellor. He emerged from a pool of 21 applicants and did a wonderful job of presenting himself for that position. I think that also warrants a round of applause and recognition. So I'll stop there. I'm not sure if you want to elaborate on that at all.
Just briefly, we've been in talks with the New Era, Dr. McMeans, and I've been in conversation with him, and we're going to make a smooth transition. I'm a good soldier, looking forward to helping him. A lot of things to do with the Ag Center, and I want to be there, right behind him, right beside him, to help him move it forward.
Well, I should have said that on Friday, the Board of Supervisors did accept my recommendation and adopted the appointment of Dr. Orlando McMeans, who will serve as the new chancellor and dean. Dr. McMeans comes from West Virginia State University, where he had assumed the vice presidential role for the last, more recently, but have had tenure at that university for 21 years and enjoys a relationship with the 1890 community that is very substantive, to include membership on APLU board, policy making board, where in effect that committee had some influence in actually writing the farm bill that provides considerable leverage now to HBCUs. And so we're looking forward to welcoming Dr. McMeans to the campus, and certainly we would be so pleased to introduce him to this board at such time as he established a residency here in Baton Rouge.
Dr. Belton, may I add something to what you just said about Dr. Walker?
Yes.
I want to join Dr. Belton in publicly thanking you. I called you and personally thanked you.
Yes.
I believe
Yes.
Saturday morning for taking over the leadership of the Ag Center in this period of transition in less than ideal circumstances. And I'm very proud of the job that you did, how you represented us. And I also feel compelled to say that you really demonstrated the true sense of your character on Saturday when I called you to thank you. I did not detect a hint of anger or resentment about him not being permanently selected. The thing that he said here today, he said to me that he was prepared to roll up his sleeve and give to continue giving the Ag Center and under Dr. McMeans' leadership 100%.
Absolutely.
And I really, really appreciate that, and I want to publicly thank you.
And I'm actually here because of the hemp meeting coming up after this.
Thank you.
Still rolling until he gets here.
Again, we'd like to welcome you. Okay.
And that
Thank you,
concludes
sir.
my report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Hale?
Yeah, first I want to really draw your attention to page 134 in your packet. Just real quick, some updates on where we are in terms of our objectives for 2019. At the end of the second quarter, we did meet our benchmark, our fundraising benchmark of $3.3 million, and the year-to-date analysis at the end of the month was $5.6 million. So congratulations to all who helped with that. The areas that you see highlighted there that are in yellow achieved their benchmark for the quarter. I'm not going to go through all of them. If you see yellow, that means that we hit our year-to-date benchmark. If you see red, there are some concerns there as well. This is a document that we share on a weekly basis with our internal team, but keeping squarely the objectives that this board set out to accomplish for this year at our board retreat last year. They are here for you. I'd like to thank this body as well as the donors who helped to establish the Baldry Center for Philanthropy. This is our first meeting in this facility. We would have not been able to achieve this project or be able to realize it without the support of this board, number one, and giving our staff as well as our donors and other consultants the authorization to move forward with it. It's a great facility. We're really proud of it. And so we want to thank you for all of your support. We have a heavy program agenda scheduled for the center. We've sent that information out, and we want to encourage everyone here to participate in those courses that we're going to have and different activities and programs we're going to have through the center. We have a tour scheduled for all board members who are able to stay after the meeting of the facility. Our student interns, we're going to give you a tour of the facility and kind of walk you through. I'll come along on that as well if you have any questions. The grand opening has not been confirmed yet. We are waiting to secure the keynote speaker for that event. And once we secure that speaker, we're going to publish that date. That is an invitation-only event. Of course, all of our board members are invited. About 50% of those invitations will be given to the Baldry family to send out. Our intent is to have about 150 people here in attendance. I want to end my comments, Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate, with a video that I think encapsulates the meaning and the purpose of this center. And in the video is Dr. Elsie Scott, who is a Southern alum, and Ambassador James Joseph, who is a Southern alum. And this video was filmed at our board retreat last year. And we asked these two distinguished alums to talk about what they thought the center's purpose and focus should be. Jocelyn.
When in Mississippi, she cleaned houses. And nobody ever guessed that the slave was saving her money. And she had no will when she died. She had $100,000 left to one of the Mississippi institutions, but for black students, because she never got a chance to go to college. She never got a chance to graduate from high school, but she wanted these students to have it. And she was able to do that with a house cleaning salary. She was able to save $100,000 to leave in her will. And so it does not often take the rich people to do it. It takes just will. You know, if you put aside enough money, you know, in church we talk about the widow's mite. You know, you have to learn how to give from where you are. I am Dr. Elsie Scott. I am the interim president and CEO of the Congressional Black Hawks Foundation. I'm also on leave as director of the Ronald Walters Leadership and Public Policy Center at Howard University. I'm a proud alum of Southern University.
Giving is important, not just for the given or the receiving center. It's important for both. I like to tell people that giving is transformative. When you help a neighbor in need or help a stranger in need, both the one who gives and the one who receives are transformed. It's really exciting to look back and say, I was a part of this person's transformation. My name is James A. Joseph. I'm a graduate of Southern. I'm originally from Opelousas. Well, I think it's important for those of us who manage to escape communities that are almost designed to make us feel inferior and to hold us back. It's important for us to make it through that, to give back, so that other people in similar circumstances might have a pathway to the future. It's important to society because there are a lot of human potential that is lost and wasted because people decide that these folks ought not to or cannot contribute in the larger society. There is this myth that blacks don't give. The recent study showed that blacks give a higher percent of their disposable income, a higher percentage than white Americans, up to 25% more, not in amount, but at least in relation to their own income and assets. And there is a long tradition of giving. It started out primarily to the black church, in which blacks give a high percentage. A lot of them tithers who give 10% of their income to the black church.
I remember when I was a child, my father started us a tithe. But as I got older and I was making more money, I said, wait a minute, 10%? I don't want to give it. You know, when I was just getting an allowance or, getting money for picking up pecans or something, 10% of $5 did not seem much. But then you start making $100,000. Oh yeah, do I want to give $10,000 to my church? I am an active giver to Southern University. I've been a life member of the Alumni Association for years, but I was not engaged as much. But there's a former president of Southern University that when I became president of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, he reached out to me and came back with me. And during one of those meetings, he said, why aren't you more involved with Southern University? And I said, you know what? Maybe because I never been asked. And he's why I'm asking you now. Join the 1880 Club. Give me $1,000. And I gave that $1,000 and I committed to giving $1,000. I committed to finding friends. And I did that.
Even in large giving, there's some really great stories of African Americans who want to be part of the narrative of American philanthropy. I'll give you an example. There was a man named Tony Fong who lived in New Orleans, and he, at one point, bailed out the city of New Orleans when it got to a bankrupt and couldn't meet his payroll. And this black man came to their aid and bailed them out. He gave so much of his assets away that the Louisiana legislature back in the 19th century authorized a bust be made in his likeness to honor him for his humanitarianism. Now, when people think of wealthy donors in American society, they think of the Carnegies, they think of the Rockefellers, but there were black Americans of wealth many years ago who also did the same. So there is this long tradition that people need to know about, and I think it helps to dispel this myth that blacks are takers rather than givers.
I feel like the Boundary Center is going to be great for giving the next generation, creating the next generation of development directors, for persons who will raise money and help to inspire the next generation to give like the generations before us.
As a center in an academic institution, I hope they will introduce new knowledge, do cutting-edge research, as well as cultivate charitable impulse.
I think the Boundary Center is significant at Southern University because, one, Southern University is a historically black college. And we don't often think of black colleges teaching students how to raise money. That, in fact, a lot of institutions don't teach philanthropy. There are a few universities that have specialized programs, but I don't know of any other HBCU that has this type of program. And as I always say that I've observed so many nonprofit organizations that struggle because the leadership does not understand fundraising. The leadership believes in the mission, they're committed to the mission, but they don't know how to go out and get the funds so they can support the mission. And so this center, the Boundary Center at Southern University, one will attract not just black students, but I think it will also attract white students to come to Southern to want to learn this because it's not offered in a lot of other universities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Good job. In closing, let me first thank you for attending the meeting this morning. I'd also like to thank you for your participation, support as you give to the university, to the foundation. You know, everyone just doing a little bit makes it easier for us to move forward. And to me, I believe we have to support this university, we have to support the foundation, we have to support our students. This is where our future comes from. And I strongly support it. And, you know, 1880, which is also part of what we do, you know, we need to support them also, you know. I think Al has done a good job, is continuing to do a good job, and I think we need to give him a round of applause.
I like the way you said that he's going to continue to do a good job.
Well, yeah, I expect that. But I know he works very hard on trying to keep things going. The $1 Million March is coming up. You can support. Sometimes we don't get help or we don't get contributions because we don't ask. You have to ask different people. They don't have to be alumni of Southern. Ask them to support the $1 Million March. We got to make it much bigger than it was last year. Last year we raised
We presented a check for 10.9 million.
10.9 million. We ought to be able to go with 11 million this year.
Yes.
We should be able to go with it real easy. So let's support the $1 Million March. And lastly, we got a retreat coming up in October. It's going to be in Lake Charles this year at the Golden Nugget. I hope all of you can participate, and we want your input. And again, we want to thank you for making the meeting this morning and for your participation. With that being said, the chair will now declare the meeting as adjourned.
All right, thank you, Mr. Banks. The date of the retreat. I'll tell you. No, it's October 24th, 25th, 26th.
You do?
Jocelyn?
Yes.
Is the retreat the 24th through the 26th?
23rd.
Or the 23rd?
3rd, 24th, and 25th.
Okay.
I've
been trying to get this thing done.
All right. Preston Al didn't want you there. Yes, indeed.
It looks like it.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
All those things. So we get this
Through the
25th.
I'm gonna have a draft for it.
That Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
All right.
We ain't gonna worry about it.
Yes, sir.
Realize that we didn't meet again.
Boy, you heading back home?
But is that something?
I got a meeting. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an update of our affiliation. We got that tonight.
Yeah, I guess. So it's not incorporated to an email.
Right.
Good to see you. Yeah, we can see you. You will want the whole.
Yeah. Depending on what's in it. Always. Okay.
And I think like a couple letters from you, Doc, and try and the whole.
Okay. I might. Either I'll be there. I'll be there.
Facilitate.
Okay. Okay.
But no, that's good. Yeah, because I know the one I think is real.
Yeah. All right.
I think that thing is like 99.
Hey, Joe.
All right, thanks.
Hey, Joe.
And it doesn't
Be talking to
incorporate
you.
all
Joe.
these.
Tell you what, we got a lot of interest.
Oh, I got a question for you.
I can imagine.
I know what that means. I know what that means. But we'll be talking.
We got a good team.
It may be affiliation agreement. Maybe this is a good time to have the mirror each other
Because every university has an alumni association.
All right, happy
And it's through those affiliation agreements that they're empowered to do.
Is there a term on the agreement, like in terms of like time frame? Does it go from just automatically?
That's something that we discussed.
Because the old one doesn't have a date. They never turn the end date.
Yeah, I don't think it has to have.
It doesn't have to have a date.
Or,
Okay, well, good.
or you can have something like 100 years. You know.
I think that's the problem we have with old one. It didn't have an end date. We just kept it. Yeah, like I gotta send it to the auditor every year because he asked for it. He's like, let me see your agreement. There's a relationship between the foundation and the university. But I agree. That'll be helpful, Doc, because I'm not up on the SACS requirement.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to see some best. We got review. Sure. No
And
problem.
then you do that by when? Because we have to submit it to SACS, right?
Yeah. Well, we're submitting our document in September. So
225?
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. All right.
Okay.
We're good.
So, and I gave them all.
Right.
Hey, Al.
What's up, bro?
What's the medium of the giving? We're gonna be using like text messages,
Oh, yeah.
cash app, all of that.
Anything you want to use. So you get the
It's gonna
MDM
be
link.
available, cash app, and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, not cash app. No. Well, the audience care for some of those, right? And in terms of seating, I just got a conversation with so
It's always a pleasure. Appreciate it.
That's long. And then they submitted their receipt of cash app, and then all of it says to me.
I'm going to express this. Yeah, well done. Great meeting.
Not smoother than I thought it
How
would.
do you
Yeah.
know that?
And I thought you set the stage on, you know,
Right?
just
Because I
better
can
for us
send
not
cash
to.
app right now.
Well,
and say in the
moving
subject,
forward.
here's payment
Good.
for your consulting services or something. Then I take my cash app, receipt and say reimburse me, university. Right? But I don't have anything from the actual vendor service agreement, right? And then, but that's why they don't want us to use cash app. But that's what John,
I was asking about being able to donate with different ways.
Yeah. So they're not comfortable.
We need to deal with Limpopo.
I use it all the time.